Greetings, folks. Bill O'Leary here in this video. And the topic here is going to be what's the role of an executor in estate planning? So, what I'm going to talk about is what an executor is, what an executor does, and why being an executor is such an important responsibility. Again, my name's Bill O'Leary. I'm an estate planning attorney, elder law attorney, probate, and trust administration with Legacy Planning Law Group in Jacksonville, Florida. So let's get started. Look, you've been chosen by a deceased family member or a friend to be the executor of their estate. Quite an honor, isn't it? To be trusted with such a responsibility. And boy, a responsibility it is. Being an executor comes with a lot of responsibilities and duties, multiple duties. Before accepting the job, you should be sure you understand what you're getting into. So broadly speaking, you'll be distributing the deceased person's property and assets and arranging for the payment of debts of the estate and expenses and so forth. An executor takes care of the final responsibilities of the estate, sort of guide the deceased person's assets through the probate process and manage the distribution of assets according to the decedent's will, if they had one after passing away. By the way, in Florida, an executor is known as a personal representative, but I'll use the term executor for this video. Now, let me drill down into some of the specific duties that an executor has. First, find the will. Find the will. The executor is in charge of not only locating the will, but also reading and understanding it. At this step, the executor will determine who inherits the property or the assets. Then once the will is located, it needs to be filed with the probate court. And that's the case whether probate is needed or not. Next, the executor needs to inform banks and credit card companies that the decedent has died. And don't forget the government, for example, Social Security, they need to be told. By the way, they will claw back any Social Security payment made in the month of death. It's kind of cruel, but that's what they do. Now, at this point, the executor should decide if probate is needed. Inheritance laws, they may facilitate the passing of certain assets without the need for probate. For example, probate often isn't needed if, let's say, an asset is held jointly, let's say between husband and wife, or let's say a financial account passing by what's called a beneficiary designation. Also, if the estate is small enough, it might be able to pass through sort of what's called a simplified expedited process. We call that summary administration. Now, if probate is required, you're going to have to file a petition with the court to be appointed as an executor, and you likely will need an attorney's assistance to do that. In fact, if it's a sort of a full-blown probate, not that simplified procedure, in most all of the full-blown probates, a lawyer is required by law. Then you'll need to set up a bank account in the name of the estate that will receive incoming funds, let's say like, a paycheck that wasn't made by the time of death, and the account will be used to pay bills like mortgage payments, utilities, other expenses that have to be paid during the probate process. Now, once you're appointed by the court as the executor, one of the first things you'll have to do is make a search for creditors that you know about, okay, as well as giving notice to what's called unknown creditors and giving them a chance to come forward with their claim. And Florida has an entire procedure for notifying known and unknown creditors. Now, about the same time, the executor has to file what's called an inventory with the court, and this is a detailed report of the assets that are in the probate estate. Now, while the probate is going along, the executor needs to do something very important, which is to preserve and maintain the assets of the estate until they can be distributed to beneficiaries or sold. This includes, by the way, keeping up a house until it's distributed to heirs, or again, until it's sold. In fact, the executor needs to decide whether the house will be sold at all. That's their prerogative. Again, dealing with the house is very important. What about the personal property in the estate? Maybe the household furnishings. They need to be protected and preserved until ultimate distribution. And oh, by the way, if the deceased person had a safe deposit box, the executor should locate it and keep it safe. And don't forget about filing the final income tax return for the deceased person for the year of their death. Once all of this is done and some other things, the executor now is ready to distribute the assets to the beneficiaries and close out the estate. Distributions will be made according to the will, again, in this circumstance where there is a will that was located. If there's no will, Florida law is going to dictate who gets what. One last thing, as you close out the estate, don't forget to get a final release of your responsibilities, okay? So you're going to want the judge to enter a court order, what's called discharging you from further responsibility. You want that. You don't want that lingering over your head. So, hey, if you'd like to know a little bit more about what the role is of an executor in estate planning and maybe how we could help, we would love to talk to you, invite you to take that sort of very simple initial step by scheduling a free 15-minute phone call with us. We call it our discovery call. So we sort of discover what your situation is and get the conversation started. And to schedule it, just go to the bottom of this video and click on the scheduling link and to go ahead and just pick the day and time that works for you, and we'll jump on the call with you. If you are interested in other topics that are similar to this one, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legacy Planning Law Group. And if you've liked or enjoyed this video, please like it and share it. So Bill O'Leary, until we meet again, go make it a great day and a better world.